If you're young and only recently got to know Pepe as a Porto player, you probably think he's always been very calm. Well, he's not that calm. But if you go back to his early days as a Real Madrid player, he was quite the opposite. Very aggressive and always fighting with the players. To the point where one day he decided to turn the pitch into a wrestling ring and started kicking Javier Casquero. An incident that not only almost ended the Getafe player's career, but also affected Pepe's life. To the point where he decided to retire from football. But knowing the reasons for his actions, you may be able to understand him. Or maybe not. But let's find out what was going on in La Liga at that time and in that match that caused Pepe to lose control. What happened on the pitch didn't start that day, but 4 months earlier, in December 2008, when Real Madrid lost 2 games in a row, 3-1 to Getafe and 4-3 to Sevilla, which led to the sacking of the coach Bernchester, and everyone saying Real Madrid's season was over, because they were in 6th place and 9 points behind leaders FC Barcelona, but they had to try and prove everyone wrong. So they signed Juan de Ramos, who was good at the time, but the problem was that the next game was against FC Barcelona, and they ended up losing 2-0, which means that they lost 3 times in a row, and the difference between them is now 12 points. It's over. Nobody has come this far to win the title, especially when you are competing with Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. And Real Madrid hadn't signed Cristiano or Benzema and the others yet. They had a normal team, and that's when everyone started saying that Florentino Perez would come back to Real Madrid as president, and that he would sell all the current players and sign new ones. I mean new Galacticos. I say this because it will help us understand after Pepe's actions. But you know, this is Real Madrid. They don't give up. So they started fighting for the title again. And in fact, they won all their next 15 games before the game against Getafe. They only draw against Atletico de Madrid, and they didn't lose a single game, while FC Barcelona lost 2 and draw 1. So now if my calculations are correct, the difference between them is only 6 points, and they will have to play the El Clasico, and if they win, it will be only 3 points. And you never know, FC Barcelona could lose another game, and Real Madrid could win the title. But first, they have to play Getafe at home, the game that changed everything. It should have been an easy win for Real Madrid, because Getafe were at the bottom of the league, and had only won 8 games up to that point. But as you know, Getafe are always a pain for Real Madrid. I'm not going to go into too many details, but it was a very difficult game, because Roberto Soldado scored for Getafe in the first 10 minutes, and Gonzalo Higuain equalized in the dying moments of the first half, so that the score was 1-1. And throughout the second half, both teams had their chances, but neither scored, until Juan Albin scored the second goal for Getafe in the 84th minute. So Real Madrid were losing the game, but luckily for them, got to equalize after just 2 minutes. And the whole team went on the attack to try and score another goal to win the game. But just 2 minutes later, Javier Casquero found himself inside the box, and Pepe was behind him, so he pushed him a bit and fell. And the referee immediately gave the penalty. Now, please try to put yourself in Pepe's head for those seconds and take everything into account. Real Madrid have fought their way back into the league. The score is 2-2. Getafe have been awarded a penalty, and there are only a few minutes left to play. Of course, he says everyone will blame him, and with Perez back in charge, it's the end for him at the club. So as soon as he heard the whistle, he didn't even look back at the referee, especially as Casquero overreacted a bit. So as you can see, he kicked him twice, once on the chin and once on the lower back. And he didn't stop there, he came back to check on him. So he tried to turn him over by force, and he stepped on his leg as the Getafe players started to push him. He then punched Juan Albin in the face, before Iker Casillas kicked him off the pitch. At that point, I'm sure Pepe was unaware of what he was doing for several seconds. And of course, he was sent off immediately. And the same player, Casquero, stepped up to take the penalty. But unfortunately for him, Iker Casillas saved it. And in the 93rd minute, Higuain scored an amazing goal to finish the game 3-2. An important win for Real Madrid, especially as they won the next game and FC Barcelona draw. So there are only 4 points left. And the next game is the El Clasico. But unfortunately, you know what happened. They lost 6-2, and Real Madrid lost all hope after that game, and they ended up losing all their following games until the end of the season. Although FC Barcelona didn't win either, they lost 2 and drew 2. But it wasn't enough, and they ended up winning the sextuple. A lot of people have said that if Pepe was at El Clasico, they would win, and it might not be a sextuple for FC Barcelona, but that's just an if. You may be wondering why Pepe didn't play the El Clasico. He was only supposed to miss 1 game. Yes, you're right, but after that game, he was banned for 10 games. And many have called for him to be banned for many years to set an example to others. But it was just 10 games. Of course, Pepe recovered a little from the shock after he left the pitch. And after watching the replay, he felt ashamed, as he spoke directly to the press after the game to apologize for his actions. And the Getafe players said that he forgave him, but he should be harshly punished for what he did. And a few days later, Pepe spoke to Marca and said, "I have been in football several years, and it's been the worst day of my life as a player and as a person. I never felt like I did on Thursday. Now I have to try to move on. I'm devastated and very sad. I felt disappointed with myself. The only words I can find right now are to apologize to the players and their families, to the fans and to my teammates. I didn't recognize myself at that moment. I lost control for a few minutes. I wanted to win the game so we could continue fighting for the league. I was only aware of what I did at the end of the game." At which point he also said that he had lost his enthusiasm for football, as he said, "If I have the opportunity to continue playing football, I'm going to try to do things in the best way possible. But if I feel that I'm not in the right state to return to playing, I will continue with my normal life and try to do something else to support my family." And when asked if he was saying he was retiring from football, he replied, "At this point, I have no desire to do anything. I have been deeply affected. I'm depressed and I don't have the words to describe how I feel. The biggest punishment that I could receive is what I'm feeling now." He said a lot of things that showed he was ashamed and depressed, but I don't want to repeat everything he said. But of course, as you know, he didn't retire from football. And in fact, he's still playing today, even though he's over 40. And even though after Florentino Perez took over, a lot of people said that he was going to sell him, but in the end he stayed for almost a decade to become a club legend. But a lot of people say that it was because of Jorge Mendes, who was Pepe's agent, that Perez didn't want to sell him, because he was also Cristiano's agent. So Perez wanted to keep a good relationship with him and help him sign Cristiano. But whatever the reasons, he did a good thing by keeping him. Because as we said, he helped Real Madrid a lot and became one of Real Madrid's greatest defenders.